story to share with you from our newscast, and this is from the Parliamentary Chamber on Friday. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, okay, I understand we don't have that story yet, but Philip Alexander joins us on set. Mr. Alexander, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, first of all, you have taken a position or adopted a specific stance as it relates to this matter. What is your position on Anna Roberts today?
Well, I mean, in issues like these, the buck stops with the minister. That's my personal view. I don't speak for any political party, but I think that he should know and do the right thing. I think he's putting the prime minister in a very untenable situation. If you read every letter to the editor today, yesterday in the papers, the public incensed. They want to finally exist in a country where somebody who has responsibility and authority for public funds takes responsibility, accepts the accountability for the work done under them, for the actions of their ministries.
Now, I know that, I know that you're on another station, but Mr. Roberts said that the minister doesn't have control over the procurement processes. He also doesn't have control over who gets awarded because they a contract or not, because there's a sort of tendering process in place. So he was unaware in a ministry that $2 billion in expenditure of what's happening with the project that's worth $100 million. Do you buy that?
Let me tell you the difficulty I have with that, because you see, all of the ministers who are very productive, proactive, who are delivering, whose ministries are soaring, when you deal with them, you realize these people have a hands-on on everything that happens in the name of their ministry. If something makes the news, they get involved. You see them, they respond immediately. This live sport thing has been bubbling under the surface for a while. And we've been hearing about it. And it's only since the tragic death of Dana Sitahal, all of a sudden, live sports seem to have been thrust into the national spotlight, and things are being said about, and then things were said in the parliament that the Minister of National Security had to come and totally refute. But then the reality of how you could be responsible for something that has that big an expenditure and not know what's going on. I've been told by people who have a better understanding of the situation than I do. I mean, I've read the report and I've listened to the exchange, but there are people who have more information than I do, and they've told me that there is more in this, and that the Prime Minister knows what she is doing, and that is why Minister Roberts was not removed. And I have to accept that, because she's not...
So you're towing the party line, or accepting that you have to adopt the party position on that?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I know that she's not someone who's afraid to fire people. She's fired people, as she's known for that now. So it's not like I think that anybody has any hold over her. I think there's information that's still to come out, and perhaps...
What else can come out? This file has been sent to the DPP, the Integrity Commission, and the Police Commissioner.
Well, you see, that's the thing. If you commission an audit, and the moment you get the audit back, it goes straight to the DPP, that tells me something. That says something.
The DPP's office is not one to be messed with, even though I do think it's an inefficient office in some regards. I mean,
you bring that up, and I ask because you know that Senator Al-Rawi and I, we have this little exchange that happens through you, through
yes,
your
I
show,
realize that.
Through your show, and he comes here regularly. He went to the other place, and he speaks to issues, and he speaks about live sports. And I wonder if he doesn't know that the rest of us are watching him and wondering, why is he not speaking about Taruba? That file is supposed to be lost somewhere. A Brian Lara cricket stadium that was commissioned for $136 million ended up costing $1.1 billion.
Well, all of those things as well they've had investigations, and I think all of that remains in the with the relevant authority.
But to the public of Trinidad and Tobago, you see, $1,000 million is what, 10,000 houses? To the public, to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because our government has changed, because Patrick Manning was fired and his government was pulled down, doesn't mean that the people don't want to know what happened to the cost overrun money from Scarborough Hospital in Tobago. What was that, $600 million? What happened to the cost overruns from Napa and Sapa, next $600 million?
But then your government is now being accused of the same thing, of turning a blind eye to questionable practices.
I don't know if they could say that, because the moment live sport became a national issue, the Prime Minister ordered this audit. She got the audit. It's been sent to the DPP. Personally, in my view, I think what she did with the other ministers, she should have done here, but that's my view. I also know that Andy Roberts has his value to the party. I get that and I accept that from my position.
Why is the Prime Minister protecting him?
You see, I don't know if it's protecting. And that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to accept, as much as I'm willing to go out on a limb and say to Anil Roberts, I think you should do the right thing and you should resign, I'm also willing to accept that the Prime Minister may have information that I don't have. And I've seen that she's demonstrated in the past that she has no problem firing who needs firing. I think if that...
Yeah, because some people look at it like double standards. And I don't like people texting my phone, but I did get a text from one of the NGOs, and I'm going to read exactly what has been making its round on social media. Do you think that Anil has enough information on other cabinet members and ministers to be negotiating the terms of his departure from the partnership?
I would say this to you like this. That was the rumor that people held on to as to why Jack Warner was in the cabinet. That he had these files and he had da-da-da-da-da. When it was time to fire him, it was clinical. In fact, he asked for 2 weeks and she said, no, you have to go now. So she doesn't appear that anybody could have anything over her or rumor to have anything over her that would get in the way of her doing the job. That's why I respect her so much. That at the end of the day, she delivers. When she stands and she says, and this is it. So I don't want to come across like I'm cross-treading with what she's saying. She's still ultimately the Prime Minister. And
do you think Roberts is a liability to your party? You are fighting.
I think,
you hopefully will be putting yourself up for this party in one of the Diego Martin seats.
Yes, and that is a concern because, and I was saying that on the other place, that when you go walk about in these poor, depressed communities that have been so badly done by politically, and they want change, these people hold out hope to everything that comes along, and they want you to bring something that looks like change to them. How do you go to them and defend the indefensible? How do you say one thing for this party and something else for another? I have difficulty with that.
Now, it's interesting when we first started this interview, you made points of the ministers who are super ministers, whose ministries are shining, that they're pretty hands-on. So is it that Mr. Roberts is not super performing?
Again, I want to not be the one to judge that because at the end of the day, I know politics is a team sport. We have 41 members of parliament. They all have a role to play, but in government, when it comes down to the administration of government business, what delivers to the people, we need to make sure that we on this side, if we want the people to say yes, give them another chance. 2015, vote for them again. They may not have accomplished everything that they set out to do, but they did accomplish so much. Because if you look at the deliverables of the People's Partnership, I mean, just on deliverables.
But we have a very fickle population.
I know, but if the debate was framed in terms of deliverables alone, the People's Partnership won already. The work that they've done. And I say, I'm thinking, all the things I want to say. For the people who don't live...
you could be in an abusive relationship and somebody will give you everything that you want and they're still taking advantage of your trust. And that doesn't make it better in the end when you get nice things.
But you see, we have people who are fighting for procurement legislation that we overdue for. This is not... the legacy of corruption in this country didn't start now. We're world famous for it. We've had some situations. I mean, the things that we've put out of our... To use your analogy... of being abused, we put things out of our mind. The Caroni Racing Complex, you remember that? You remember what the equivalent of billions of dollars that was spent under the People's National Movement as the Caroni Racing Complex? They don't even have a hole in the ground to show for it. At least at Taruba, with that $1 billion that was stolen, there's a hole in the ground to show for it. But when Dr. Keith Rowley stood up in the Parliament in 2006 and he said, I went to the Prime Minister in 2003 and told him about massive bid rigging and corruption taking place in Udicott. Why is the same Dr. Keith Rowley not assisting the public of Trinidad and Tobago? Why is the same Dr. Keith Rowley and Faris
Well, maybe they are assisting in calling out on...
But why aren't they... But Dr. Keith Rowley said he had evidence. So why didn't he take that evidence to the Anti-Corruption Investigation Bureau? Why doesn't he take it to the Integrity Commission? Why isn't he helping the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service pursue Calder Hart? Why isn't he? That's the problem I have with Keith Rowley. I have a problem with Keith Rowley because he wouldn't go beat him. He wouldn't go more far. He would.
Do you know that for a fact?
But I go there all the time. I just did a walkabout in Cocorit this weekend here.
But this interview isn't about Dr. Keith Rowley.
No, it isn't. But you see, we're dealing with the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, and we have to bring it back
But do you think the UNC is any better, Philip?
For people politics, for deliverable at the people level. If you don't live Valencia, Sangre Grande, Mayaro environs, you are Toku, you have no idea of the traffic those people face. None. Only if we have to go Miaro and we sit down in traffic for an hour and a half, 2 hours, we say, but this is madness. There's a bypass being built. A simple bypass.
Yes, but you have the
that's going to be
possibility of eroding all of the goodwill that you've done because the population has reached a point where they are, and Akash and I were having that conversation, where they are simply fed up of people not taking responsibility.
I agree with that. And again, and I have to say that I know that I am putting any political future that I may have with an organization when I take a stance that contradicts the party. But I honestly believe that Anil Roberts is a walking wounded, that he's a political liability, that he's politically dead, and he should be gone. Anil Roberts needs to do the right thing. It shouldn't come down to the Prime Minister. It shouldn't come down to civil society marching. He knows. He's been an activist politician. He didn't just walk into this thing. He built a career calling out other people.
Now, interestingly, there's an online petition that's gaining a lot of momentum.
I see that.
But we're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we'll continue this discussion. Stay with us. I'm here with Ramki Sudan. This is the Morning Brew. Well, we're going to share with you a story from our newscast, and then we'll continue our conversation with Philip Alexander.
Some of these, well, first of all, of all these that are there, yes, totally unaware.
Sport Minister Anil Roberts is insisting he has no reason to resign following the revelations of corruption and fraud in the live sport program. But those who believe he should step down or be dismissed seem to be growing by the minute. RLP Chairman and Shoguana's West MP Jack Warner is among those calling for Roberts' ministerial appointment to be revoked, and he wants it done immediately. In a letter dated July 28, 2014, and addressed to Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the RLP chairman says, quote, "Good governance and the traditions of Westminster, Madam Prime Minister, demands that where such mismanagement and corruption occurred under the watch of a minister, that minister must either resign or his appointment should be revoked by the Prime Minister," end quote. ILP Chairman Warner says he wrote the letter on behalf of citizens and the ILP, and he hopes the Prime Minister will revoke Roberts' ministerial appointment immediately. Aside from Mr. Warner's letter, an online petition on international site change.org has amassed almost 1,000 signatures aimed at getting Minister Roberts dismissed. The petition, done by Nicholas Thompson from Port of Spain, began late Saturday. By Monday afternoon, there were 946 signatures, just 54 shy of the 1,000 needed. The petition calls on the President and the Prime Minister to pay attention to the demands of ordinary citizens who all want Minister Roberts' appointment revoked. Meanwhile, both the MSJ and the PNM's Talparola Hocketa constituency both want the minister dismissed. In fact, the MSJ intends to picket the Sport Ministry on Thursday in the hope that Minister Roberts would go. Melissa Williams, CNC3.
Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. We're continuing our discussion with Philip Alexander. Also, we have Akash Samru on the standby. But I want to ask you the petition. Jack Warner has written to the Prime Minister. The letter was published in the paper. Change.org, I believe, is the website. And the petition is growing. I think it's about 1,000 plus persons have signed so far.
Yeah, the petition is unfortunate. I hate to ever agree with Jack Warner. I hate that. I hate to be on the same side of anything with him. Jack Warner and I, we will never be on the same side of anything politically. So I don't want to comment on his position. My position is the right thing. Jack Warner is the last person to be talking about the right thing. Because he
what is the right thing? For him to step down?
In this instance, yes. Because it's leadership. It's about the public. It's about rebuilding faith in public institutions.
Rebuilding faith in public institutions. Well, Akash Samru is on the standby. Akash, good morning. How was your holiday? Young lady speak. You have the opportunity to even interact with her. Please take the opportunity. She really is an international symbol of hope. Akash, thanks so much for that news update. Philip, I'm being told that there's thing that you started that petition.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. We were going to do a petition, and then I was told that there already is a petition. So did
you sign the petition?
Not as yet.
Will you sign the petition?
I'm not sure because I read the petition and it's coming down politically, so it's just making a mess of the thing. I don't want to engage in helping another political side use this for cheap political points. I'm dealing with governance.
But if you're giving them the ammunition, they must use it for political points.
You know what? You know, at the end of the day, it's either or. That's the politics.
My final question to you. Gary Hunt was hounded after this $2 million flag.
And rightly so.
Right. So is it not the same thing? Are we one set of morals for one person and another set for another person? Gary Hunt at that time could say, I had no control over the purchase of a $2 million flag.
The fact that you asked that question makes my point. That if we have a situation where the last Minister of Sport was hounded to be fired, and if it wasn't for an unfortunate porn video that made it its way into the public domain, he may have been fired. We were all prepared to march against him. That the fact that we're in a situation now where we can't do as they did, because then what separates us from them? I keep telling Trinidad, what the PNM was fired for more than anything else, it was Manning's arrogance, his hubris, his inability.
And what do you think people are saying about your party today?
Exactly. And that's what we need to address. We need to make sure that we could never be that.
That was your closing comment. Take a very short break when we come back. Fitzgerald Hines joins us on set.